I will say this: if Bernie Sanders were running, he'd win some of those counties.
Exactly.
He'd win He'd win some of these counties in Wisconsin and Iowa. So look, there's a reason why we're here. I mean, the Democrats put Donald Trump on the ballot.
I done ran up all these bands up in hand and made like 5 bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, there ain't no stopping me. I done ran up all these bands up in hand and made like 5 bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, there ain't no stopping me.
What's going on, guys? So as we all know by now, Kamala Harris has lost the 2024 presidential election. And today I'm going to be giving you my top 3 reasons why Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party as a whole really suffered this presidential election. I have a few notes here, so if you see me looking down, I'm just referring to my bullet points. So I'm going to break down these top 3 reasons, but keep in mind these are in no particular order. These are just top 3 as a whole. With that being said, let's get into it. Number 1, democracy. Bernie Sanders was cheated in 2016 and in 2020. In 2024, RFK was cheated because RFK wanted to run as a Democrat. He initially did announce he was running for president as a Democrat, but the Democratic Party canceled the Democratic primaries. There should have been an open primary process, as we all know that Joe Biden is suffering from dementia and would have lost horribly had he chose to stay in and remain in the presidential election. He left late after canceling the primaries with the intent of setting Kamala Harris up as the sole option the Democratic voters would have. They robbed their Democratic voters of democracy, and that's a big reason why they lost, because the voters responded with vitriol and hatred and resentment because they were cheated, and rightfully so. Also, we can see the Trump assassination, and I'm putting this under the democracy label as well, because this is just another avenue that was used in an effort to remove Donald Trump as an option undemocratically. Now, you might say, hey, the Democrats aren't responsible for the Trump assassination, but I'm not so sure. I am of the opinion that a Secret Service agent or multiple agents were compromised, and if not compromised, grossly negligent by leaving that rooftop unattended with not so much as a guard on that roof, on that door. You can keep him in the stairwell. For that building to be unguarded, that's gross negligence at best. Complicity is probable to me. So I think that multiple attempts, undemocratic attempts, were made to push Kamala Harris as our sole option as Democratic voters and remove all other options from the realm of possibility. Number 2, President Obama. The delineation movement. Right now, we saw in the middle of the election, people were arguing about, hey, is Kamala Harris? We saw that famous clip from Donald Trump. I didn't know Kamala Harris was black. All of a sudden, she became black. The delineation movement right now is very strong in the black community. We have a foundational Black American movement which is taking root and taking hold in the minds of the grassroots, in the minds of Black Americans. Now, everyone might not be familiar with the term foundational Black American, but everyone is becoming intimately aware of the reparations movement because multiple presidential candidates have been asked about it on the presidential stage. So this is in the public lexicon at this point. There's a strong delineation movement which is attached to that reparations movement. And the fact that Kamala Harris is on record saying, I'm not going to do anything only for black people. No. And now all of a sudden she's running as a black woman, but you won't do anything for black people. There are too many contradictions. And right now the delineation movement is too strong for there to be that kind of wish-washing, feeble unification with us. No, that's not going to work. If anything, she should have said, I'm melanated, I'm a Asian, because you know the Indians, she's Indian, she has an Indian mother, and they like to claim Asia. She should have been, hey, I'm an Asian woman. They should have really leaned into her womanness and not so much on her blackness. Now, in my opinion, just for the record, Kamala Harris is black if her father is Jamaican and not Indian himself. There's some questions around that. But if he is Jamaican, Jamaicans are black. Indians are Asian according to them. But ultimately, we're all melanated people. That's a topic for another day. I would consider Kamala Harris black via her Jamaican father if he indeed is Jamaican. Rastafari, understand, type of Jamaican. But yeah, that delineation movement right now is going too strong for her not to be part of it. We already learned from Barack Obama. Barack Obama was the catalyst for the foundational Black American movement, because after we saw Barack Obama was elected, he was in office, and he too chose to do nothing for black people. We started to look at the people in power and recognize that a lot of them are not foundational Black Americans, and they're just black faces that get to these high positions, high places, and they choose not to do anything for us. They're using us. And the masses are waking up to this fact, to this dynamic. People have been calling it out consistently for the past, few decades now. And I think it's really taking root in the black community. And the Democrats are really in trouble, not just because they lost in the 2024 election, but 2028 is not looking too good for them either. So there's some stormy seas ahead for the Democrats, if you ask me. The last one I want to say on this second point of the delineation movement is these shaming tactics. We saw President Obama, he lost when he came out in support of Hillary Clinton and said, "Oh, you want to protect my legacy? Go out and vote." Well, we didn't go out and support Hillary Clinton, and that should have been assigned to him. But no, he didn't heed his lesson. In 2024, he came out and shamed black men, saying, "Hey, Cousin Pookie and them, they're choosing not to vote because they're misogynists." That's not helping, Obama. That's really not helping. You're the reason we have a whole delineation movement. And you want to come out here talking about, I want to talk to the brothers. And really, you're talking down to us. You're not like us. And now you're talking down to us after we supported you. That's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. And then even Michelle came out after Obama was called out for talking down to us. And Michelle Obama doubled down. So that was a decision that they made to consciously try to shame black men. Michelle Obama had the nerve to get on stage and tell the women, "Hey, if the men in your lives aren't supporting Kamala Harris, you have the right to expect better." Meaning break up your families if your men don't support who you tell us to support. It's crazy. It's really insane the way they talk down to black men in the 2024 election. And that delineation movement attached to those shaming tactics, that's a big reason for the lack of black male involvement. And let me say this also, while I'm on this point, before I close out and move on to the third point. The black men, not only did we choose not to vote in support of Kamala Harris, we saw 20% chose not to vote and went in the totally opposite direction. Not only did we take that step, we didn't support cover for them on the grassroots, rhetorically. You didn't see a lot of folks like myself with podcasts coming out and saying, "Hey, I'm supporting Kamala Harris in this." See, what black men, especially, but black culture, what we do is we make things cool. We make things cool. If we're not rocking with Trump, a lot of people are not going to rock with Trump because the black folks, they're saying he's racist. I don't know. I don't want to be looked at as racist. Maybe I should just, sit this one out. But when a lot of people are like, "Hey, I'm thinking about voting Trump," and black folks are like, "Man, go ahead. I don't rock with Kamala Harris. I don't care about her anyway." We're giving a lot of folks who were on the fence the green light. So it's not just our vote, it's our influence. It's our influence. And Kamala Harris, she was going out of her way to try to buy our influence. We saw her reaching out to people like Beyonce to get Beyonce, Eminem, part of the hip hop culture, Cardi B. She was trying to buy our influence. But as black folks, especially black men on the grassroots, we weren't giving our influence. We weren't giving our okay, our thumbs up. We were like, nah, thumbs down. We weren't rocking with her. And because we didn't lend our influence or our votes, that's a major factor as to why the Democrats and Kamala Harris lost. And I'm going to move on, but I want to say this about why I want to specify that the Democrats lost. It's because the Democratic Party as a whole is responsible for this third point, which is the policies. The Democratic Party as a whole is responsible for a lot of harmful overarching policies. We see the open border policies being pushed from the Democratic side, not so much from the Republican side. We see literally down there in Texas with Greg Abbott having to sue in the Supreme Court and because he wanted to close the border and put up a barrier. And Joe Biden literally was saying, no, open the border, remove the barrier. So the Democrats are literally to the tune of arguing in Supreme Court, literally fighting to open the border. These open border policies are harming everyday Americans, and a lot of Americans seem to agree, judging by the voting results of 2024. The hedonist cults, the hedonist gender confusion cult, pushing that to kids, that's coming from the Democratic side. That's coming from the Democratic side. Right now, the Republicans, especially under Trump, are saying, hey, we're pro-families. We want to change these marriage laws. We want to change these. So they're thinking about no-fault divorce. They're thinking about changing no-fault divorce. They're thinking about reducing the abortions in the country by pushing it to the states. They're trying to increase birth rates. They're trying to protect families, whereas the Democrats are trying to push this eugenics movement of gender confusion and pushing hedonist lifestyles. So these policies, not to mention the warmongers, we see that Barack Obama ran on, hey, I'm hoping change. I'm going to close Guantanamo Bay. I'm going to end these wars that George Bush started us into. But then Obama got elected. He increased the wars. Not only did he maintain Iraq and Afghanistan, he increased it to Syria and Libya, Somalia, Sudan. We saw Obama increase it. Now, under Joe Biden, we thought he was doing something good by getting out of Afghanistan, only to shift that energy and those billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, to Ukraine. That military spending was shifted to Ukraine instead of being shifted to a peace dividend which can help American people. That money was spent in Ukraine and in Israel, more wars. Whereas Donald Trump is saying, hey, I want peace with Russia. I want to find a peace deal agreement between Ukraine and Russia, reduce the threat of nuclear war there. My concern in closing is with Donald Trump. We have to worry about him starting World War III with Iran, because he has been very, and I'm going to have to make a whole separate video. He's been very hawkish against Iran, saying that he's going to unleash Benjamin Netanyahu, fully supporting Israel. He's saying that he believes Iran was responsible for his assassination attempt. So we have to see what Donald Trump is going to do with Iran. That's a big concern. But right now, the warmongers are legitimately in the Democratic Party as a whole. We'll see. What Donald Trump will do is left to be seen. In 2016, he didn't start any new wars. Hopefully, he can reduce some of the wars we've got going now. But guys, those are my top 3 reasons. I had a few sub points, but my top 3 reasons as to why Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party as a whole lost this election. Now, as always, I got some bonus footage. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button on your way out. And if you haven't already, smash the subscribe button for more content just like this. With that being said, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
There's a significant drop-off of Democratic voters, and that's something that we're going to have to take a look at, not just in the so-called battleground states where all of the resources and all of the attentions and all of the surrogates and the principles, but also when you look at New York, New Jersey, which I keep looking at the governor like, come on, New Hampshire, Minnesota. I think Amy Klobuchar won. I think Kamala Harris will win Minnesota, but we shouldn't be talking about Minnesota after 1 o'clock. So there's some drop-off there that Democrats will have to assess as well.
Her running mates, the governor of Minnesota, how in the hell have they not called Minnesota when her running mate is the sitting governor of a blue state? I mean, that's extraordinary. And it also calls into question the whole choice of Tim Walz. Well, if he can't, if the sitting governor of a state that is traditionally blue has her sitting at 50.6%, I mean, he should have never left the State House.
I done ran up all these bands up in hand and made like 5 bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, there ain't no stopping me. I done ran up all these bands up in hand and made like 5 bands a day. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, there ain't no stopping me. It ain't no stopping me. Got bands, I'ma run it up, it ain't no stopping me. I was broke, came up with a plan, now I'm the man, it ain't no stopping me. Got bands, I'ma run it up, it ain't no stopping me.